The leaders of the European Union countries are gathering in Brussels for a summit that's expected to be dominated by the bloc's failure to agree a ban on Russia oil imports. A meeting of EU ambassadors on Sunday failed to agree a ban. The EU Commission proposal for a complete ban by the end of this year has been bogged down for the best part of the month. Hungary likened the measure to dropping a nuclear bomb on its economy. Like some other member states, it's particularly dependent on the Druzhba oil pipeline. Various compromises have been discussed. Now, technical talks have resumed this morning. Ukraine's president is due to address the summit in the coming hours.
It is very important for us to push the idea of embargo. We believe that this is the only reason that can help us to stop the war and for Ukraine to rebuild the peace. This is all about finance. It is unbelievable that more than 100 days of full-scale invasion, 8 years of the war in Ukraine, we still buy Russian oil and gas. We are aiming for a total embargo on Russian oil. We know that the gas topic is a separate issue. It's much more difficult for the member states to cut Russian gas, but it was promised to us by Ursula von der Leyen, Roberta Metsola, that actually they have promised that the oil and gas embargo full will come at the beginning of June. Now we are the end of May and there is even no embargo on oil.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in our Chief Correspondent, John Cookson, who joins us from London. John, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. The main item on the EU agenda is a ban on Russian oil imports. Will EU leaders agree to this?
Well, the short answer to that is no, well, not today. Already EU ambassadors from the 27 nations met this morning, and the word from those talks is that they have failed to agree a full oil embargo. That's an embargo on Russian oil being imported into Europe. Realpolitik has kicked in here, of course, with Russia making substantial gains in Ukraine, and the Europeans are looking at this and saying at some point Zelensky is going to have to come to the negotiating table, and for the time being at least, the conflict might end on a temporary basis, and these European countries have to continue to trade in the future with Russia. So they're so dependent on Russian oil that it really is not going to happen, even though in the great scheme of things it should, according to that very articulate young lady you had on just before I came into this segment. There should be a full embargo, but look, it's not going to happen because of vested interests. Each European Union nation has to agree such an embargo, and Hungary, for one, will certainly not do that. They import 65% of their oil from Russia. That's a huge dependency. Now, what might just happen, because the EU love to have a fudge, they like to kick it down the road, if you like, when they come up against an insoluble problem like this oil embargo. What they might do is put a ban on oil arriving by ship into Europe. Most of it comes through a pipeline, and they're not going to stop that for the reasons I've already said. But they may come to some kind of compromise agreement on not accepting oil arriving in Europe by ship. But it really will be a compromise that has to be worked on, and it certainly won't be done today, and probably not tomorrow when the EU meeting continues. Guys?
And what other items are they discussing other than the ban on Russian oil?
Two very important items. The first is Zelensky wanting more weapons, and Germany, for one, is dragging its feet on supplying artillery and other weaponry to Ukraine to fight against the Russians. I mean, Europe is effectively split now in its support for Ukraine. You have the eastern nations, broadly speaking, in favour of helping, but the French and the Germans, the most powerful nations in Europe, are really dragging their feet for the reasons that I said earlier, that it looks very much as if Russia is going to come to some kind of point where it will ask for negotiation to end the conflict. The other very important issue is the grain, the millions and millions of tons of grain which are desperately needed in Africa are stuck in ports and in warehouses and silos in Russia and Ukraine. And it's hoped that some progress might be made in Brussels in actually freeing this grain. Now, the President of Senegal is in Brussels at the moment to plead Africa's case. Africa suffering, especially Eastern Africa, suffering a great deal for not getting enough grain that it needs to feed the people of Africa, where millions of people are already facing starvation, according to aid agencies in the east of the continent. So there may be some progress today on that.
All right, John, let's talk about Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and his address at the EU summit today. What is he likely to say?
Two things. Stop buying Russian oil and gas. Stop sending money to Russia to fund the war effort. I mean, that's going to be his main the thrust of his conversation by social media today with the EU leaders, and he'll make that message very loud and clear, something that he's been saying for a long time. He'll also, I suspect, talk about aid. It's costing Ukraine about $500 billion a month to fight this war. He may well be looking for some support from Europe on that, and certainly in the reconstruction of his country. So, watch out for a strong plea from Zelensky today to the European leaders to stop buying Russian oil and gas. But of course, they'll smile sweetly and no doubt give him applause. But for the reasons I said earlier, that embargo on Russian oil is not going to happen.
Well, John, Russia's foreign minister has made a rare comment about Putin's health. What more can you tell us about that?
Yes, Sergei Lavrov gave an interview to French TV TF1, sort of poo-pooing any idea that there was something wrong with President Putin. There's been a lot of reporting over the last few months of Putin's alleged ill health. I must say he looks a little puffy around the face, and that might be because he's taking steroids, say doctors. We just don't know. There are reports that he might be suffering from cancer, Parkinson's disease. But again, this could all be what are called black ops by the Western security services to put about these stories to discredit the Russian leader. But Lavrov did make a point, as you say, of saying, I don't think any sane person would see there's anything wrong with him. However, he has been seen on TV doing a very strange tapping of his foot when he met the Belarusian president recently. And he also appeared to be gripping a table when he met with his defense minister. We really just don't know. But it is significant that Lavrov's come out and said these things because Putin's health is an absolute taboo subject. Officials and politicians in Russia just won't speak about it on the record.
Well, thank you so much for speaking about it on here, Tim Cookson. Thank you for joining us on Newsday this afternoon.